Two of intercollegiate's most distinguished and unique brands, yet with glaring championship droughts, coming together to play for a natty. Tennessee, without a national championship across any major sport since women's basketball in 2008, football in 1998, Texas A&M women's basketball, last to cut down the nets in 2011, earned the Women's College World Series national title in 1987, and football last in 1939. Neither has won it all in men's basketball, and neither in baseball. In just a few short days, that will all change. As number 1 Tennessee, number 3 Texas A&M will meet in a best 2 out of 3 championship series final from Omaha starting on Saturday. At Kyle Schass, at SportsCon 4, we're here in 3D, Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Tennessee 58-12, A&M 52-13 in all SEC final. 6th time we've had a single conference represented by both sides in the national championship series. 6th time in the SEC, 8th time overall, and 3 out of the last 4 years represented by the Southeastern Conference. Are brought to you by baseballbarbecue.com/CSN. Help your boy out. If you grill it, they will come. Baseball Barbecue, making baseball, patented, bat handle barbecue tools licensed to the best teams in college baseball. Both Tennessee and Texas A&M are represented. So go to baseball.com, baseballbarbecue.com/CSN. What a final. It's what we all thought it. Like, why even play the games? You and I both had these two teams here prior to the start of the NCAA tournament, yet here we are.
We knew it. It's rare to look back and say, the chalk actually became chalk, and it did. Like, Tennessee came into the NCAA tournament as this freight train that just rumbled through the SEC tournament. Nobody could get in their way. LSU certainly tried, but Tennessee reigned supreme. And then they're the only one that really got kind of troubled in the super regional. They were one of 2 that went to 3 games, and it was Evansville, the 4-seed Evansville, who took a game in Knoxville. And we go, okay, maybe this mighty volunteer superpower has a chink in their armor. And then they get to Omaha and go, nah, just kidding. 3-0. Bye-bye. And they're the best offensive performing team in the Men's College World Series for Tennessee. And then you go to the Texas A&M side of things. They're the only perfect team left in the NCAA tournament at 8-0. They swept the College Station Regional. They won they won both games of the College Station Super Regional over Oregon. And now they've gone 3-0 for the first time in the Men's College World Series to reach the finals for the first time. And Texas A&M has gone back to what got them off to their amazing start. Their pitching has been phenomenal in the Men's College World Series. You look at their numbers, they have a 1.00 ERA. They've given up 3 runs in 27 innings and struck out 37 batters. So it's the best pitching performing team versus the best hitting team. What more could you ask for?
And I believe these are the 2 top teams left standing here in the Rocco's Yellow Shot Challenge, which we failed to give you earlier in the week, but we will get the exact number, Con. You can have that ready whenever you're able to shoot from the hip. But I believe last check, Tennessee had the plus maybe 1,000 advantage on Texas A&M on the last check. You and I will give our pick of the final. Now, before we get out of here, but let's talk about how we got here with Tennessee and Texas A&M, each going undefeated, as you said, at 3-0, and Texas A&M the first to do it to get to the championship series since 2015, and that was Vanderbilt, but they didn't win it all. They lost to Virginia. UCLA in 2013 was the last to go undefeated in the NCAA tournament. So the Aggies here flirting with history. First ever time that they've been in the national championship series ever. First ever time they've won 3 games in Omaha. First time that Tennessee has ever gone 3-0 in Omaha. Because if you go back to the last championship series appearance, it wasn't even a series. They just played 1 game, and it was in 1951. Now, it was 8 teams. It was an 8-team field in Omaha, but they lost to Oklahoma way back when in 1951 by the score of 3-2 at Johnny Rosenblatt Stadium. The Sooners won the Natty that year in football, baseball, and wrestling. There were no preliminary rounds, though. No preliminary rounds, Con. There was no tournament. You basically just picked the teams based on like district championships, and I don't know. There was a lot of other crazy stuff going on back in the 50s. There is today as well in 2024, but we'll talk about that another time. So these are 2 teams that are very unfamiliar to this stage, but 2, as I alluded to in the opening, 2 of the most powerful, extinguished, unique brands in all of college sports, from Go Big Orange to Gig 'em. They both come together to the wildest, most rabid fan bases that are out there. You talk about defining what a fanatic is. I mean, you might see a picture of a Volunteer fan and an Aggie fan in the dictionary if you want to know to what extremes fan bases will go to. So I'm super stoked, super excited about these two being here. In all honesty, and all due respect to what happened since we last podcasted on Tuesday, I really don't care that much. So you can empty the notebook if you want on what happened between Kentucky and Florida, a game that was moved from Tuesday night. We just had the one game with Florida State eliminating North Carolina. Threat of severe weather in the area pushed us to 3 games on Wednesday, which really put Florida behind the 8 ball. Or Kentucky, should Kentucky would have won, but they were playing a second game later in the evening, which we had. So on Wednesday, you had Florida just completely, blow the doors off of Kentucky, 15-4. What was it, 3-4 home runs in that game? Brody Donay had 2, part of a 7-run first inning. He had a grand slam, hit the hardest hit ball off the bat in Omaha, over 117, close to 118, 117, I think, 0.6 miles per hour off the bat. If my memory serves correctly, Jack Caglione hit his 75th career homer as a Gator, setting the new record. Now his career would come to an end later in the evening when they got blanked by A&M 6-0. I will more than entertain you on that game. But the middle game was Tennessee and Florida State. That was a 7-2 final as the Volunteers were able to wrap up their 3-0 showing in bracket 1. The Aggies later in the evening with the 6-0 win, holding the Gators to just 4 hits, an offense that had 15 runs earlier in the day, but they just ran out of pitching. They were gassed. Liam Peterson, 4 walks, giving up 2 earned runs. You go down 2-0 in the first inning. It was all uphill from there, and they were not able to clear the mountain of Texas A&M and Justin Lampkin, my dude. Like, that's where I would want to begin more than anything. Let's pour one out for UNC, for Florida State, and for Kentucky. Magnificent years, especially you Wildcats. And even you can create arguments for each team. North Carolina, best team start to finish in the ACC all season long, remaking their lineup, their starting rotation, everything Scott Ford's was able to do to get them back to Omaha for the first time since 2018. The resiliency, Vance Honeycutt, pour one out for him. I mean, just an amazing collegiate career. Florida State, in a year they lose Mike Martin right before the start of the season to get to where they were under Link Jarrett in year 2 of his return to Tallahassee. And then Kentucky, best year ever in program history. Those teams are gone since we last podcasted. And that gives us, again, Tennessee and Texas A&M.
Yeah, it does. And Florida State had the nation's best turnaround this year, Shass, winning 26 more games since 2023, 49 wins, the most since 2012. They scored 27 runs in the Men's College World Series. It's the most of any team, any ACC team ever in Omaha. Actually, it was 29 runs. Apologies. But yeah, pour one out for those. Let's also take a moment of silence that we will no longer see Jack Caglione in a college uniform. He was very emotional after the game last night, rightfully so, understandably so. And he was like, look, we knew we didn't have much time left to wear these uniforms. I didn't want to take this uniform off tonight. And he was, visibly upset, but you can just see the passion and the care that he has for playing for the Florida Gators. And they put up a valiant effort. I mean, dude, they put the smackdown on Kentucky. Dominic Nyman lasted a third of an inning, and that became the theme of the day, right? Because John Abraham for FSU, third of an inning against Tennessee, and then Liam Peterson, third of an inning against Texas A&M. So the pitching just crumbled for Kentucky, for Florida State, and then for Florida at the end. And that's why Tennessee and Texas A&M, who both have really good offenses, but as we mentioned, it's Texas A&M's pitching that's carried them to the College World Series finals. It's Tennessee's offense. And the great thing about the fact that we don't have Thursday, if necessary, games is that both of these teams now have a couple of days to really set their rotation appropriately for how they want to start the finals on Saturday. It's the first time we haven't had necessary games since that Michigan-Vanderbilt Classic in 2019. But you got to imagine Ryan Prager, who hasn't pitched since Monday, going to get the ball in game 1 for A&M. And you got to imagine that it's going to be Stamos and Causey, the usual game 1 starters of a 3-game series for Tennessee on game 1 on Saturday. Then you'd imagine it'll be Drew Beam, probably Lampkin. We don't know. He'll be on 3-4 days rest at that point, but he only threw 70 pitches yesterday, so he could be ready to go. And then we'll see what happens on Sunday. Probably Xander Sechrist, who's been just insane for the Volunteers. He was so good yesterday. 6 1/3, 3 Ks, 5 hits, 2 runs, 4-0 with a 1.23 ERA in his last 5 starts for Xander Sechrist. So Tennessee's got their rotation set up exactly the way they want to. Texas A&M, beyond Lampkin and Prager, this is where they miss Shane Sadeo, but they've got Chris Cortez, they've got Evan Oschenbeck, they've got Josh Stewart. I mean, those dudes are loaded, rocked, and ready to roll. and this is going to be a whale of a championship series.
Josh Stewart was awesome in relief on Wednesday night, too, especially after Cortez walked the first 2 batters on 8 pitches in relief of Justin Lampkin, who's had 15 strikeouts against the first 29 hitters he's faced between Saturday and Wednesday night. I think he would be the guy who potentially would come in a Game 3 scenario. I'm going to take the baton on Seacrest, though, because I think he is the Vols' Game 3 starter, following what would be the Stamos and Causey, opener strategy against. Yeah, I agree. Ryan Prager, like that would be how things would line up for Saturday. My Game 2 idea would be, okay, Lampkin's not going to be ready on Sunday. He'd be a guy that you would probably bring back on Monday. I mean, he could come back on Sunday, but I think you would try to hold him out. You'd feel better on Monday. I think you would go Tanner Jones or Brad Rudis, potentially, for Texas A&M. 2 guys, and it'd probably be Jones. Jones is probably more familiar in that starting role, and then you go to Rudis, and then you patch it together, with Stewart as you need to, and Cortez is going to be there all weekend. He just didn't have it on Wednesday night, but, more often than not, he's going to come in and he's going to, burn the strike zone with 100-mile-per-hour heaters. But so Prager against Stamos Causey, combination for Tennessee Game 1. Jones or Rudis against Drew Beam for Game 2 is my thought on Sunday. And then it's going to be probably back to Lampkin. We don't know, TBD. This is all speculation at this point against either Xander Seacrest. And to pick up the point on Seacrest, Kahn, and let's look a little bit more deeply on how each Tennessee and Texas A&M polished off their perfect 3-0 side. So we'll start with Tennessee-Florida State, which was the sandwich game yesterday after Florida won Game 1 on Wednesday, as you and I podcast on Thursday. 7-2 the final. Again, first trip since 1951 to the final for Tennessee. They've won 12 out of 13 games now after the 5-run victory. Seacrest, sensational. He gave his numbers over those last 5 starts, so 4 earned runs in total over the 29 and 1/3 innings pitch. You noted the 1.23 ERA. I mean, this is a guy that wasn't even, and we saw him in Hoover. I talked to him down on the field after one of the games he had started. I forget which, I think it was a semifinal on Saturday before the final. And Seacrest was a guy that kind of fell out of favor early, wasn't even extended until March 31st against Georgia, where he went more than 4 1/3 innings pitch. And they just, Frank Anderson, Tony Vitello continued to keep the faith and believe in him and the ability to work him back into a position that he's capable of. This is 3rd year on this team. His 3rd trip, right, to Omaha, or 2nd trip to Omaha for Seacrest. He's a guy who's been around, and to continue to trust him, the unorthodox style of this dude to be able to quiet an FSU offense. What was the number? 29 runs? I mean, more than 9 runs per game. FSU was averaging in Omaha, and to hold them to just to go 6+ and then not allow, any damage until the back-to-back home runs, then you get yanked, and Tennessee's able to close the deal with Connell and Snead. But he's not going to kill you with velocity. I mean, he's throwing 70-mile-per-hour curveballs and changeups,
he's Derek Clark.
He's Derek Clark. He's like Jamie Moyer. I heard the comparison from the SEC Now crew. You talk about finesse, like a Greg Maddux really had more velocity, I think, on his heater. Jamie Moyer, more of the craftsman, even more than a Maddux. And that is Seacrest out there, just deceptive lefty going out, not going to throw smoke, but he's mixing and matching his pitches so well. And he's gotten so much stronger to this point in the year. And this is why I'm not giving you my pick yet. I mean, according to our bracket challenge, I have Tennessee beating Texas A&M. Is that it?
So do I.
Did you have? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think people know where we both stand on this. I don't know why I'm really going to move off of it, but I'm saving it till the end of the show. I just feel better about Tennessee's starting pitching to this point, because I think the Sadeo injury and where they're at, maybe Lampkin has used all the bullets in his chamber. How is Texas A&M going to match what Tennessee has? But you talk about your horses being the most fit, the most physical, most ready for the moment. Xander Seacrest being as good as he has been is a trump card, man. That's a wild card unlike any other. On top of it, the way these guys are swinging the bat, Con, I mean, we've been talking about it all year, but you want one of your more notable numbers or factoids about this team that I wasn't aware of. Tennessee became the first team in college baseball history.
Yep.
They have 5 guys hit 20+ home runs with Burke's dinger on Wednesday against Florida State in the 9th inning. 5 guys hitting 20+ home runs. Next closest, Alabama in 97. They got all the way to the final series against LSU. They had 4 guys hit 20+ home runs. Now, that is an amazing, scintillating fact about this Tennessee powerful offense.
And I could add to that, because before this 2024 season, Tennessee had only had 6 career players with 20 or more homers in a season across the entire history of volunteer baseball, and they had 5 this year. amazing.
Insane. Kavaris Tears, too, getting moved to center field on Wednesday. Pulling a Hunter Ensley. Going into Billy the Blue Jay, the Creighton logo, just leaving a mouth indent. I mean, just come on. I mean, the defense. We've talked a couple of times about this in the entire NCAA tournament. I mean, the defensive plays that these teams, these individuals have made time and time again. But I mean, Tennessee has become, this is like on a loop now. Like what these guys are doing, just giving themselves into the wall. Did you see late last night, too, on Wednesday night, though? Florida's Ashton Wilson, right?
Wilson, yeah.
Yeah. Not
banged into the wall.
Yes, but him banging into the wall and the stanchion, he had to get removed from the game before it ended. I mean, the way these guys have given up their body, I mean, it is so commendable. So entertaining to watch. I mean, you are seeing the most high level, and this is what you expect on this stage. And Tennessee continues to deliver in every facet of the game.
Yeah, they certainly do. And that's the thing that I also think will kind of be the linchpin in this championship series, deciding who's going to win, is that, yes, Texas A&M has the best pitching staff between them and Tennessee. Like they've shined completely. But I do think Tennessee's pitching staff, combined with the fact that they have such more of a lethal 1 through 9, no breaks offense, which Texas A&M could provide, but they haven't been. They've been getting contributions from guys like Caden Kent, Sorrell. Grahovac finally jumped into the fray and has been hitting better of late, but they're still missing. They don't have Braden Montgomery. Jace Laviolette's been kind of helter-skelter. So I don't know if A&M has the offensive firepower to stick with Tennessee in shootout-type games, which you have to imagine Tennessee's going to get theirs, right? Like they're going to score runs. Tennessee is the only team in the College World Series that is averaging above 300. They're hitting 321. They have 5 homers. They're hitting 429 with 2 outs. They have 11 runs scored with 2 outs so far in this College World Series. Florida and Florida State also had that as well, but they're out. So I just don't know if Texas A&M can hold a candle offensively to Tennessee. So it's really going to come down to, can Texas A&M's pitching corral Tennessee's offense enough that Texas A&M can score enough runs to beat them? Because I think Tennessee's going to score. It's just a question of how much can they score. And if they do what they've been doing these first, this week or so in Omaha, A&M's got no shot.
Yeah, and I think it's important to clarify, because it sounds like you and I are making the same argument, just in different ways. We're on the same page. I do feel Tennessee, the way they can line up their starting pitching, okay?
Yeah.
I feel better about that right now from a starting pitching standpoint than where Texas A&M is, just because of Sadeo being out and how quickly can Lampkin come back. Can he come back on Sunday? Likely not. We think on Monday, but you're going to have Prager going against the opener strategy of Tennessee, which has worked so well all year long. In fact, I'll circle back to this, but Tennessee and A&M, the one time they played this year, was in Hoover, where Texas A&M fell in an elimination game on Thursday against the combination of Stamos, who went a career-long 3 1/3 at that point, or a season-long, and then Causey came in behind and threw 4 innings as well. We'll circle back to that game. But to your point on the pitching, A&M, yes, top to bottom in terms of their bullpen, I think the strength and consistency in their, and this is how they've gotten to this point, is because they're so good at controlling the strike zone, not just on the mound, but hitting as well. It's why they lead the country in walks. They're the most patient. They're the most disciplined. They're not going to give you anything. They're the same way on the mound, and it's how they've been able to overcome all of the injuries with the grit and tenacity that they have on the mound and hitting. And I'm talking about, guys that are coming in and throwing strikes for the most part. Take away Cortez and the 8 straight balls the other night, but these dudes are coming in and they are hammering the strike zone. They're not making mistakes. They're playing so well defensively, and then at the plate, in spite of the injuries, and we know Montgomery's done, Sadeo are done. Each of those guys aren't contributing from an offensive and a defensive pitching standpoint, but you got Hayden Schott playing with a torn meniscus. You got Justin Appel, the catcher, who is not 100%. You got Lavalette, who is out there, who is strained, with his hamstring, who was out there in right field on Wednesday night. They are not a finished product by any means, and they're remaking things on the fly with their lineup, and guys are gutting it through injuries, and that gives me so much concern and pause too, which is why when we repicked these teams before the College World Series began, I removed Texas A&M because
As
I didn't
did
think they could overcome Sadeo and Montgomery, and we didn't even know the extent of Hayden Schott dealing with what he was. We might have, had some suspicions, but, Appel being banged up, and Lavalette wasn't, banged up yet to the extent that he is from what he has suffered this week in Omaha, having been removed from the game against Kentucky earlier in the week. So I just think it's so much for them to overcome. And so, yeah, I'm still leaning Tennessee, but the strength will be on that Texas A&M bullpen and what they can do. And can Caden Kent, dude, he's 10 for 22. 10 for 22 in the College World Series. I mean, the dude just continues to mash in big-time moments. And Grahovac, okay, as we kind of ping-pong now back to the clinching game for Texas A&M in the 6-0 win, only 4 hits for the Gators. Texas A&M only had 6 hits. 4 of them were extra base hits. One of them was an RBI double from Gavin Grahovac, who had his first multi-hit game, or really his second since May, I think it was 7th against Rice. He had one other multi-hit game in there, and it was his 22nd multi-hit game of the year, now a Texas A&M freshman record. So just what we talked about earlier in the week, can Grahovac get a couple of pokes to build some confidence at the top of that order? And he was able to do that in the clinching game against Florida.
Yeah, he was, and that's going to be the key for Texas A&M in this series against Tennessee. Is you need to get contributions from everybody in your lineup so that Tennessee doesn't have a break, and you need to get that starter out of there as quickly as possible. If you're Texas A&M, you need to get Stamos and Kazi working early. You need Beam to build up his pitch count, start walking some guys. You need to have patience at the plate, because the difference for Tennessee has been their bullpen has been the worst of the 2 pairings when you look at their starter versus their bullpen so far. Here in Omaha, their bullpen ERA 5.87, their starter ERA 3.09. So get to the pen. I know Tennessee has a lot of dudes, and they've performed well, but they haven't performed as well as their starters. So build up that starter pitch count early. Make Tennessee start to kind of question their game plan. Tony Vitello always comes in with a plan of how he wants to use his guys, along with Frank Anderson, and he lets Frank Anderson handle the pitchers during the game. Make Frank Anderson kind of have to rework and play some chess in his brain about, I don't know if I can wait to go to this guy anymore. Make him have to adjust on the fly and see if your bats can take advantage of it. It may not be hitting home runs. A&M's only hit 1 home run in this College World Series, but it's working walks. They've worked 17 of them so far. You got to cut down on the strikeouts a little bit. They've struck out 28 times here in Omaha, as does Tennessee. So if you're Texas A&M, get to that bullpen, be patient, try and work some walks, and see if you can get some stuff going in the late innings, because you're going to have to score runs. These games are not going to be 2-1 finals. They're not going to be 3-2 finals. This is going to be like 6-5, 8-7. Like these are going to be high-scoring games, and that's where I think A&M might fall short, is I don't know if they have enough offense to stay with Tennessee.
You said 5 walks or 17 walks. 5 of those came against Florida. So, the 6 hits, 5 walks, they're able to get guys on base, manufacture runs, the big extra base hits, certainly were a huge part of that in the 6-0 win. But again, it was the starting pitching from Justin Lampkin and the bullpen behind him minus Cortez. But Stewart coming in, giving the 2 scoreless with 4 strikeouts in relief of Cortez. And then, Stewart left with a 2-2 count. I mean, Schloss was coming into was that the 8th inning with 1 away?
8th inning.
On a 2-2 count, Schloss is like, F it. I'm going, like, hey, Stewart, thank you for your service. I appreciate you. I applaud you. I'm going to get my guy. And then Aschenbeck gave up, I think a hit or ended up walking it. Either way, Aschenbeck still was able to shut it down. Your stopper of the year, he came in. I just thought it was such a unique, because you're operating with, it was either 5-0 or it had already been 6-0. And it's like, come on, like Stewart's been doing his thing, but Schloss to waste no time and just recognize, like, hey, I think it was Curlin who was up, and the way Cade was swinging, and Telcash made the comment. I don't know if it was Kyle Peterson who had said, the way Curlin is getting his bat on the off-speed stuff from Stewart, which is his go-to, like that would scare me, because he's right on the off. Like, let's go get our big arm Aschenbeck to come in and close the door. And ultimately he was able to do that. And the other thing is, you talk about the runs, like, can A&M produce enough runs? Because they are going to need that. Now, A&M in the 6-0 win, that was their nation-leading 12th shutout, just more on the pitching staff here for the Aggies. Nation-leading 12th shutout of the season. 4 pitchers, amazing stuff to get the shutout in that moment. And how fitting, too, that it's number 12, given what the 12th man means to Texas A&M, the mantra. It's very symbolic. To A&M and not just their university and their athletic program, but certainly the season for them to get shut out number 12. They ain't shutting out Tennessee, though. That's my point.
if they do, I mean, they're gonna win the conference.
They're gonna win the series. If they can shut them out one game, that's one win. But it's gonna take two. And will they have enough run? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say right now, it's not happening. Okay, Shass, surefire lock. Tennessee is not going to be shut out in either of these games. Whether it goes to Saturday and Sunday, which you and I both agree, it's going to Monday, right?
Yep, I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah. But also Texas A&M, they set the new program record for strikeouts pitching wise as well. 680 they now have. So they can, blow it by. And like you said, Chris Cortez better than anybody can do that. So yeah, look, the pitching has been sensational. It's what we've been praising Max Wiener all year. I was like lauding him from game one because of how amazing A&M start was, especially on the mound. Their pitching staff didn't give up an earned run for the first 10, 12 games. Like it was insane. They were just coming out and just blowing it by guys, not letting them sniff home plate. So yeah, like we said, we've framed this up beautifully. It is the best pitching team in Omaha versus the best offense in Omaha. Who's going to budge? That'll be our College World Series champion. There's so many storylines here that I feel like we need to get into. You've already mentioned a couple of them in that great historical open, but of course you've got the first one that everyone knows. Tennessee is the number one national seed. Nobody has won it as the number one national seed since Miami in 1999. First year of the national seeds. No one's done it. There have been other teams that have gotten there. Texas got there twice, 2004, 2009, but they lost. So Tennessee's the fourth number one overall national seed to get to the finals. Can they become the second to win it? You've also got, and people are going to say, oh, this is a stretch because they've only hit 5 home runs so far. Tennessee is 10 home runs shy of the all-time mark from LSU, 188 in a single season in that team in 1997 that won it all. Tennessee can hit 10 home runs in a single game, first of all. Let's just put that out there. They've only hit 5, but they have potentially 3 games to break that record. They could do it. It's a little bit of a stretch, but they could do it. You also have the fact that there are 2 legendary head coaches in Jim Schlossnagle and Tony Vitello. Jim Schlossnagle, let's all remember, 14 years ago, hired Tony Vitello to TCU's staff as an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator. So you've got that angle. And then you've got all the SEC, craziness of it all. 8th time in the last 11 years, we'll have a first-time College World Series champion. The 5th straight year, it'll be an SEC champion. You already mentioned the 6th time it's going to be an all-SEC final in Omaha. But here's one that we should also bring up.
SEC against ACC? Because I have those numbers as well. Okay.
Right. No, but you could bring those up. Tennessee is 58-12. There has never been a team in SEC history with 60 wins in a single season.
Oh, wow.
Tennessee could be the first if they win it all this weekend because 2 wins gets them there. The most wins in a single season, by the way, Wichita State in 1982, who went 73-14.
73. This is when they were playing such an absurd amount of games.
Correct. Right.
Tennessee 58 wins overall this year, one better than that record-setting, unbeatable team, many thought at times, team from 2 years ago when they finished with 57 wins and were upset in the Knoxville Super Regional against Notre Dame. 1 point on that, and this is my big overarching look at both of these teams. Tennessee with an opportunity to finish what they couldn't in 2022. They are here, okay? They are here to pen the last chapter and hopefully close the book on what they've been building under TV. But maybe the best they had ever been positioned to win the whole thing came 2 years ago on a runaway freight train type of ball club that nobody saw ever losing. And maybe it was too cocky, too arrogant, all of those things. And now they get a rebuttal 2 years later in a second consecutive trip to Omaha, third in the last 4 years for Tony Vitello. For Texas A&M, you and I documented, we were there 2 years ago. Jim Schlossnagle's first year in College Station. We saw him in Hoover. He played for an SEC tournament championship last year, okay? The foundation, though, was laid 2 years ago in year one and carried over into last season. Now, they didn't make it to Omaha. They didn't escape regional play. But year one was the start of a new kind of Texas A&M baseball, okay? New brand. Now, Texas
A&M. They made the Final Four.
They made the Final Four. They won 2 games for the first time ever in Omaha. Now, this is a team that is accustomed to winning 40 and 50 games every season. They have the tradition. But once they've gone to Omaha, and they've become a mainstay in Omaha, but they've never been able to do anything. And now in 2 out of 3 years under Schloss, they've won 2 games for the first time ever. And now they've won 3 games for the first time ever. And they're in the final for the first time ever. But you got to tip your cap to what Schloss did when he first came to College Station, leaving TCU, a place where he had once hired Tony Vitello. And everything comes full circle now. And this A&M team has won 52 games, the most since 1999. Okay? And for these two to, both of those overarching storylines to me are just so fast. Like, that is the big picture. Yes, again, it is an SEC on SEC final. We've become accustomed to that. That has become normalized. I'm almost numb to that. I expect that every single year at this point.
Yes.
That doesn't get me as excited as it does what Tennessee has done over the last 4 or 5 seasons under TV, especially the last 3. And then it just means more. Texas A&M in the last 2+ seasons, almost 3 years complete under Jim Schlossnagle. Like, that is what gets me fired up. How can you not be romantic about baseball? Those 2 things more than anything. And yes, the SEC against the ACC in Omaha this year, David. I hate calling you David Kahn. I just look at you through a StreamYard screen, and I think I got to be more professional. 5-0 this year in Omaha. Over the last 2 years, they're 11-1 in 12 games. And over the last 3 years, they're 17-3.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me who the most dominant conference in college baseball is.
Yeah, and listen, here's the thing. If you're the ACC, you had your best shot this year at getting a team to the College World Series finals. You had an equal opportunity chance, 50-50, 4 teams. You had 3 ACC teams in one division, and Tennessee knocked them all over and said, get out of the way. We're going to the finals for the first time since 1951. So I don't want to hear it. Like I understand you're in the ACC. You want to win a championship. Well, guess what? Go out there and do it. Until you do it, you don't hold a candle to the SEC in college baseball. It's just a fact. This isn't disrespect to the ACC. The ACC has a lot of very good baseball teams and brands, and they play a very fun style of baseball, and it's enjoyable to watch these teams and these players, and we've documented so many of them throughout this season and in years past on this podcast. But I don't want to hear any ACC fans griping like, oh, it's the SEC, it's rigged, like they love the No, the SEC is just the best conference in college baseball. Put some respect on it, honestly. Like, it is just that good. Winning in the SEC in college baseball is the hardest thing to do. It's harder to win the SEC regular season, honestly, than to get to Omaha.
Yeah.
It is. It's harder. And I know that's a crazy statement to make, but it's true. And I bet if you ask every single coach in the SEC right now, they would say, oh, yeah, 100%. Harder to win the SEC regular season title than get to Omaha. Absolutely true. It is just a gauntlet of a conference. And you're adding Oklahoma. You're adding Texas. Texas, who is the winningest program in college baseball history, who has made Omaha more than any other team. You're adding Oklahoma, who just won their first ever Big 12 regular season title. And Skip Johnson is no slouch. It's only getting better.
By the way, Texas fans are losing their minds. Still, the baseball fans are waiting on whichever winner of this championship series to become their next head baseball coach. As far as I'm concerned, and last I checked, David Pierce is still their coach. Okay, but go get lost in Twitter and on the message boards, and you will see every Texas baseball fan clamoring for Schloss or Vitello to become their next head baseball coach. Newsflash: neither of those guys are leaving where they are ever. I don't care what Brinks trunk you back up to them. I don't care what planet you lease to them. It ain't happening.
No way.
They are going nowhere.
No way. Tony Vitello is the epitome of Tennessee baseball. They love him. Do you know every single donor and every single fan and alumnus and player and former player and coach and former coach, if they heard any sniff that Tony Vitello was leaving, the entire city of Knoxville would grab him by his jersey tails and drag him to the middle of Lindsey Nelson Stadium and pin him down with stakes so that he physically couldn't leave Knoxville and Lindsey Nelson Stadium, which, by the way, they're renovating. The stadium is getting better. They're doing all this because Tony Vitello has come in over the last 7 years and brought Tennessee baseball onto the grandest stage. He ain't going nowhere. He has built a dynasty. And Jim Schlossnagle is doing the same thing at Texas A&M. You detailed it perfectly. You documented how he's come in year after year and continued to build on this program. Final Four in his first year. Played for an SEC title last year. Now they're in the Men's College World Series finals for the first time ever, playing for their first men's major sport national title since 1939. He has come in and done exactly what they've expected of him. College Station loves him. There was a reason he came here from TCU. He ain't going nowhere. He's still got business to attend to. Even if he wins the College World Series this year, why would you leave?
Tony Vitello did you see this on Twitter? You talk about STA. This is social display of affection. I know you sent me something. I haven't looked in our DMs in a couple days.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I'm trying to stay away. So if you have something to bring up, let me know. I've been trying to be dormant, I'm just
it's hard.
trying to disappear off the face of the earth, except when I get to talk to you. And I'm fired up today to talk to you. So Tony Vitello sent one of the managers from Northern Kentucky,
who's
physically challenged. Like there's some challenges there that this young man has had to overcome in his life. And the Doors has given him an incredible opportunity to be a team manager, to be along for the ride and all of that. And Tony V, after the regional, went and ordered this guy, I think it was a banner, and sent a pennant, and sent him that to commemorate their season and their appearance in the Knoxville Regional. And TV was not aware that it had been received. He was actually told by a reporter in a questioning scrum, here over the last couple of days in Omaha, and just his genuine reaction. He was like, "Oh, did he receive it?" Because word had gotten through social media what he had done. He's like, "Yeah, man, I just, I know this guy brought more enthusiasm than anybody to the ballpark every single day in Knoxville, and living and dying on every pitch." And I'm paraphrasing here, but like, I just wanted him to know, how much we appreciate and acknowledge his presence, what his team had done to get to that point. And I thought it was really cool. That was awesome. Did you hear, and you might have a note to add there, but did you hear what he said about Xander Sechrist following his outing on
I
Wednesday
did not.
Afternoon?
I will listen to the Norse story, but I did not hear what he said about Xander Sechrist.
So,
I read what they said in the D1 baseball article afterwards, which it was like, this isn't a prototypical SEC pitcher, so we didn't know what we had in him, and then all of a sudden we realized, oh, this guy's a dog.
Yeah. Well, what he said by and I'm quoting as best I can here from memory, but he said against Florida State, and this was 7-2 win, okay? Like Tennessee pretty much comfortably, I say comfortably, there was never any doubt in my mind watching this game, okay? No. There was never any doubt.
Not a chance.
But TV said after the win over Florida State, quote, "It was one of the weirdest games that I've ever been a part of," okay? And coming out on the winning end, maybe that's just a representation of having one of the weirdest dudes on the mound in Xander Sechrist.
I did see that.
In terms of what he was able to navigate and get through. And some of the, there was some weird kind of, because there were some defensive plays. Like Blake Burke had a double play at one point, off an error, two from Christian Moore. Burke had a great play, to get a runner who was overzealous surrounding sack. Like there were some weird moments in the game. I'll give him that. And then Kavaris Tears, him banging in the center field wall, what we talked about 30 minutes ago, whatever it is, and we got to get out of here in 10 minutes, so we'll get a pick and get that Jello Shot update ready. But what he said about Tears as well, I thought this was awesome. So Kavaris Tears, he put him in center field, and he said, look, Tears is a maniac, okay? He reminds me a lot of Jordan Beck from 2 years ago. Again, making the comparison. Beck was not a prototypical guy who you think would play center field. However, Jordan Beck, in Tony Vitello's words, and this is what TV said of Kavaris Tears, he, quote, bowed up. Sometimes when a coach doubts your abilities or tries to corner you at one particular defensive assignment, you as a player who has conviction and confidence in your abilities need to, quote, bow up and come to them and be like, hey, put me in center. Put me here. I can do this. Challenge what has become normalized behavior for your role on the team and trying to do more. And TV drew parallels to what Jordan Beck became 2 years ago to what Kavaris Tears has become on this squad this year. Primarily a right fielder, but the other day showing that he can play in center field and wanted that assignment, wanted that challenge. So I thought that was super interesting.
I love
Bow
that.
Up, baby.
That's
Bow
amazing. Up. So I actually read that weird comment differently than you did. I read it as it was weird because they were the sandwich game between two games, which is not normal for Omaha. But I get where you're coming from with that. I thought he was just saying it was a weird game because you didn't play at 2, you played at 3:45 Eastern because that first game took forever. It was
that's
blowout,
weird too. That's weird too. Add that in, but no, I took it number one.
No, I think you're right.
Explicitly to just some of the weird twists and turns of that game. While it was never in any doubt, I think what TV was speaking to was it was an uneasy game. Like there were uncomfortable moments, but they had that dog on the mound in Xander Sechrist, as unorthodox and unconventional as he is, that was just finding outs somehow, some way up until the 7th inning when he got removed after the back-to-back homers. So one other note on Lampkin and Prager, what they've done, and these are the only guys that have started through 3. That's pitchers. The other thing that blows my mind. 5 pitchers in total have been used?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Cortez, Oshtenbeck, and Stewart in relief.
Jeez. Okay, so Lampkin and Prager, the only 2 to start. It's crazy. 14 2/3 innings combined in their 3 starts. 6 hits, 2 of them only extra base hits. No earned runs. They've allowed no earned runs. 2 walks and 19 strikeouts for those 2 combined.
God, that's Max Wiener, man. No guy knows what he's doing.
Certainly does.
Got some dogs. And he knows when to go make them laugh too.
His Twitter handle.
Oh, yes.
The Arm Farm.
Yes.
Give it to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Arm Farm.
It makes me want to change
It has been that for a little bit.
It makes me want to change mine to like the Gaines Train.
Ooh, Gain Train. Yeah. Okay.
Gaines Train. Okay.
All right. Okay. By the way, I did have an SDA. When Jack Caglione hit the 75th home run of his career, passing Matt Laporta, who was in attendance in Omaha, not Hoover, Omaha. Matt Laporta stood up and, applauded him at the Chuck. But then Florida tweeted the best possible thing they could have. Have you seen The Incredibles, Shass?
This came up very recently in my life. I think between my daughter and my girlfriend, they were both extremely shocked to know that I haven't seen The Incredibles.
Oh, okay, so you won't understand this. So part of the Incredibles family, they have a baby called Jack Jack. The baby's name is Jack Jack.
Okay.
So they tweeted a photo, or the Florida Baseball tweeted a GIF of Jack Jack, the baby, but they titled it Jack Jack, like JAC for Jack Caglione. Jack Jack, number 75, for his 75th home run to make him the all-time career leader at Florida. So that was my SDA. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. And just incredible foresight by the social media manager. I'm assuming it was Sullivan Bortner. So hat tip to you, guy. One of our favorites. One of the many amazing SIDs across college baseball. I'm assuming he came up with that. If you didn't, and some other member of your creative services team did, hat tip to you as well. I do a Jello shot update, by the way.
Yes, give it to me.
Okay, so Tennessee and Texas A&M, yes, far and away leading the field. Your pick of Kentucky, no.
And nobody's going to threaten 68,000 plus that LSU had last year, right?
Oh, not even goddamn close. Oh my God, no. No. Tennessee has 12,804 this is as of 14 hours ago. They have not released an update today. 12,804. Texas A&M has 11,762. So Tennessee has a little bit more than a 1,000 point lead. However, a Knoxville-based company named Weigel's has agreed to purchase $50,000 in Jello shots from Rocco's and bring the 10,000 Jello shots back to Knoxville and give them to any customer that has a rewards card and shops at Weigel's. I don't know if that's going to be counted for the volunteer total. It should be, but I don't know. I don't know when they're doing it either. I don't think they've done it yet. So
yeah,
but it's a cool move.
It absolutely should count. The numbers don't reflect that it has happened yet. And I actually had that note written down Tuesday when we potted, but we didn't end up getting to our update. So thank you for dropping that knowledge. I have one other little tidbit on the Tennessee uniqueness, and it's how they're filtering in NIL and trying to profit in some way the fan base off of charging more. Any Tennessee fan, now I don't know how you skirt this. Maybe I guess if you're not wearing Tennessee orange or smoky colors, maybe you can get away with just spending $5 for a Jello shot. But otherwise, all Tennessee fans are paying $10, double, because half of that, $5, is going to go towards NIL efforts. Did you see this?
I did.
Okay.
I did see that.
I don't know how they police that exactly, but it's the volunteer club that's the technical name of this, I think, collective or booster faction,
whatever their NIL group is. Yeah,
it's for their local NIL collective. So incredible. The number to beat is 68,888, which is last year, which was $344,440 worth of Jello shots, by the way. But
LSU's apparently created 7,000 something dollars to be donated back to the Baton Rouge Food Bank they're still participating from afar. Did you see that? Rocco's is still doing a thing with LSU this year? Yeah. So they've already donated $7,000. So that's, what is that? I don't even, 7,000 divided by 5. That's hard math for me.
7,000 divided by 5?
1,400 Jello shots. Yeah.
Come on, man. I could do that in my head.
Okay. I did that faster on my calculator than you could do it in your head.
Again, many thanks. Speaking of the content makers from your comment a couple of weeks ago, more baseball barbecue content will be going up in the social universe, so be looking for that. Again, trust us, amazing stuff, amazing quality. The baseball bat handle barbecue tools, licensed to the best teams in college baseball, fun, functional baseball barbecue products, perfect for casual fans or serious grillers. Both teams, Tennessee and Texas A&M, are represented. Go to baseballbarbecue.com/CSN. You got the t-shirts, raw talent. If you grill it, they will come. Grillies, Hot Girl Summer lineup card. Today, I consider myself the hungriest man on the face of this earth, Con. I know you got that one as well. But the jersey-style cutting boards, the home plate-style cutting boards, you can curate all your best grilling utensil packages with this fine laser-engraved collegiate or Major League Baseball themed grilling tools, the slider spatulas, split finger tongs, forkball forks, just to name a few, even the pick-off bottle openers. Go to baseballbarbecue.com/CSN. Shouts before we pick the last time Tennessee was in the College World Series final. Again, just one game when they lost to Oklahoma in 1951. Shouts to Sidney Hatfield, the most outstanding player in a losing effort against the Sooners. I just want to give you the career credentials of this man's life really quick, because I don't know if we'll ever experience such a more well-rounded individual who sacrificed himself not just on the baseball diamond to earn mop honors, but also in the classroom teaching the future of America, but also at war. This man was a first baseman, pitcher, shortstop, had a short minor league career after Tennessee, then went and taught in high school before going and fighting in the Korean War, only to come back, survive the war efforts, thankfully, okay? Hat tip to you, my friend, but then become the head baseball coach at Tennessee Technological University for 3 years, then become the assistant basketball coach there. So this guy, not just a baseball dude. And then from 1968 to 76, where he starred at Tennessee, leading them to a College World Series final and a loss against Oklahoma, he then returned to Rocky Top to be the school's golf coach. And as the golf coach, he was there 68 to 1976. He then died of a stroke in 2003, so poor one out for him and his family. But yeah, Mr. Sidney Hatfield, a Swiss Army knife to the ultra degree. Well done, my sir. Well done.
That is awesome. That's some great research by you, and what an illustrious career for Sidney Hatfield. That is amazing.
Hey, Tennessee, you're here. Let's do it for Sidney. For Sidney. Hashtag for Sidney. Hat tip to the Hatfield.
Here's the problem. That's a good one. I like that. Hat tip for the Hatfield. If you say do it for Sidney, a lot of people might think they mean Sidney Sweeney.
Well, that's okay. I mean, that tomato, tomato. I mean, it all means the same.
well,
it all means the same. All right, who you got? Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I mean, give me the Vols. Like I said from the jump, I think they've got too much offense, and I don't think Texas A&M's offense can match them. But it's all going to come down to how much can Texas A&M's offense get against Tennessee's pitching. If Causey and Stamos are like they were earlier in this tournament, which was rough, A&M's got a shot against those guys. Beam has had some helter-skelter outings. So if Texas A&M gets what they've been getting from Prager and Lampkin, and Causey, Stamos, and Beam don't put out their best stuff, A&M could definitely take this thing home. I'm going with Tennessee, but I would not be stunned if A&M brought it home. Rattling Bog, Rocky Top, baby. Let's go. I want it back and forth. Battle of the Bands.
Oh, Battle of the Bands would be so sick in front of 25,000 at the Chuck Box. That'll be intense Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. My pick is Tennessee as well, for all the reasons you just stated. I just believe more in their lineup top to bottom. I think the injuries are going to catch up. The lack of depth in certain areas for the Aggies, and two, the fact that they can't lay out their starting rotation the way Tennessee can, at least as we believe here to start things off. And I will not accept that Chris Stamos will perform the way that he did against Florida State in game one of this event this previous Friday night. I think he's going to go. If you look back at their previous outing, the last time these two teams met, and we didn't really dive into the particulars, but I got it on the doc. Stamos, career best 3 1/3, 3 Ks, 1 run, 1 hit before Causey came in and took over. This was on May 23rd, 7-4 win for the Vols. Causey, 4 innings.
I called this game, absolutely.
Yeah. Causey, 4 innings. I'm round to an SEC best, 11th win, 5 hits, 2 runs, 7 Ks. I mean, they dominated. They got their best. Here's the thing. The Aggies have seen that. So if they can somehow use what they had on tape, use from their first experience, steal a game 1 victory, that's going to be the recipe for Texas A&M to be able to win this thing. And they're going to have Ryan Prager going. There's no doubt in my mind. But can they get enough offense against Stamos and Causey? Tierson Moore had 6 of the Vols' 10 hits in that game. Tiers 3 for 5, 4 RBIs and a 3-run homer. Grahovac homered twice in defeat. That was the only other multi-hit game before Wednesday night since May 7th. Texas A&M leads all time 11-10, but I believe in the Vols, as do you. So Rocky Top over Rattling Bog. Go Big Orange over Gig'em. Programming note, you and I will be back at some point next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. Might let it breathe a bit. Hopefully this series gets to Monday. You and I both believe it will. And we'll talk again Tuesday and Wednesday at SportsCom 4 at Kyle Schass. Anything else? Any parting words, my man?
No. We should mention the 46th Golden Spikes Award will be handed out before Game 1 at 7 o'clock on Saturday. Of course, Game 1 is at 7:30 on Saturday. Game 2 Sunday on ABC at 2 o'clock. And on Monday at 7 o'clock back to ESPN if necessary. You can catch every moment of it. Listen to the Westwood One Sports Call on the Varsity Network app. And Tennessee, Texas A&M, John Wilkerson, Andrew Monaco, the local feeds on the Varsity app as well. Pick your flavor, tune in, dial it up. But yeah, we're gonna see Charlie Condon win the Golden Spikes Award on Saturday, so that'll be cool. Yeah, that's all I got. We will be back next week to tie a bow on the season. We'll hopefully get a member of the winning team. We certainly try to every year. We've had varying results with that, but that's why we may let it breathe a little more next week to get some time to possibly nail down an opportunity to talk to Tony Vitello, Jim Schlossnagel, whoever. We'll see what we can do for you.